How's it going, y'all? Got a lot of votes for yes. I wanted to hear a little bit more information about this study that I found. The lingering effects of testosterone abuse. It seems muscles have long memories. So it's not probably what you're expecting to see, kind of like some of the physiological damages of long-term testosterone use, or the effects after a long time off from them. What this is actually, the angle that this article is actually approaching is within the world of sports, whether it be bodybuilding, powerlifting, or competitive sports like track, Olympic sports, professional athletes, and so on and so forth. A lot of them work under the WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency. And there's some actual kind of like limitations and some rules in place of if you get tested positive for one of these banned substances, there's at least a certain extent of time for restriction before you can actually return to play. For example, I was at a natural bodybuilding show this last weekend, and it seemed like, for some of the more serious steroid types, it was as much as 10 years you had to be clean before you could participate again. And so what this study is really looking at is kind of, how long would really be fair, and if there are still physiological benefits that an athlete who did use testosterone would reap in the future after stopping. So the first thing, testosterone, it acts on androgen receptors in our body. This sends stimulus to our cells to increase protein synthesis, and what that ends up doing is increasing lean muscle mass, right? But also what testosterone will do is increase myonuclei, which is nucleus is in our muscle fibers themselves. And this actually turns out to be pretty important, because a lot of the times when we're thinking about taking testosterone or any other sort of steroid, we think about how big the muscles get, how strong we can get. The cross-sectional area of our muscles often gets referred to. But this is really talking a little bit about a different approach, because, I've seen plenty of people that did, do steroids, they stopped, they lost a bunch of size, maybe they stopped working out completely. And so we want to look at, are they still at a physiological advantage to compete in the future? Are there any lingering effects even years down the road? So there's a hypothesis out there called the myonuclear domain and ceiling effect hypothesis. Basically, the premise of this hypothesis is that each nucleus within our muscle manages a certain volume of cytoplasm. And while myonuclei are managing the volume of cytoplasm below its ceiling, then we can still make gains, right? We can increase hypertrophy, we can still progress. But once we reach that ceiling, it kind of starts to limit our progress, and it comes to a point where we need more myonuclei. We can increase these definitely naturally. It's a slower process, obviously, but what we're seeing is in this next study that they talk about is that the testosterone rapidly increases those myonuclei. So in this study, they gave some rats some testosterone. They juiced them up for 14 days. In that 14 days of being administered testosterone, their total number of myonuclei increased dramatically. So after that 14 days of giving them testosterone, they actually waited 3 weeks until the drug would have cleared out of their system. Testosterone has something like a 5-day half-life or something like that, 5 or 6. So by 10 to 15 days, you know, it should be completely cleared out of their system. So this is 3 weeks later, so they should have no drug present in their system at this point. They actually started the muscle building regimen. So they made these rats hit the weights. I'm not sure exactly how they caused these rats to exercise, but what they did notice is that the group that had been administered testosterone had a 31% increase of cross-sectional area to one of their muscle groups that they measured, and the control group actually didn't show any significant gains during this muscle loading process that they called it. Okay, so test group made gains 31%. The control group showed no gains. That's to be expected, right? But the interesting part was they actually waited 3 months later. Okay, so now they're back to normal. All that muscle mass is gone. After 3 months, which to note is about 10 years in human, time. So that would be the equivalent of, someone taking a few cycles and then taking 10 years off of it. So what they wanted to see is there still an effect? Okay, so after this 3-month period, they undergo the muscle loading process again, and what they find is that the group that received the testosterone again significantly increased in their muscle fiber cross-sectional area. Their strength gains, their total muscle gain was significantly higher than the control group. So what that says is, there's lingering effects, maybe better said, lingering advantages, right, of someone who did use testosterone. Now, I don't think there's going to be too many people out there that are going to be playing the long game and really juicing up so that 10 years later they can kill it in competition. But it is something to just keep in mind when we're thinking about, is there a physiological advantage to someone taking testosterone and increasing, their gains right now? Will we still see an effect down the road? And the answer is yes. So, even just having some time off, couple years off, I ran a few cycles 3 or 4 years ago, you still have that proliferation of myonuclei, and it will be advantageous towards gaining muscle down the road. All right, let me know what y'all think. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop it, let me know. I do want to cover some more of maybe the health effects. One subject I'm really contemplating is Anavar. I really want to kind of dig into that drug because I just hear it getting tossed around so much, especially amongst bikini girls. It's kind of gotten a rep as oh, Anavar's not bad. It's pretty safe, right? So if y'all want to hear more about that, please reach out to me and let me know, and I'll make a video about it. But it's something I'm interested in, just because I've never really looked into the drug. But amongst bodybuilders, it really gets tossed around as, a safe cutting agent. So let me know if that's interesting to you. Otherwise, have a great day.